could ever die.
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Looked like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, welcome. Somehow, by the grace of God, I managed to get this all in a row before hitting play. Oh my gosh, what a mad scramble this last 5 minutes. Welcome in, everybody. We've made it to season 2. Season 2. 1-2. Past season 1, on to season 2. Wow. Okay, so we didn't run for a full 52 weeks for season 1. We started in the middle of the year. But I think we did okay for running 29 episodes, so a little over half a year. I think we did pretty good.
It was really good, especially since we really didn't start out with any, major expectations or intentions for it. We just started recording stuff of you and I talking about stuff. So,
Yeah.
But
it came out okay. I think it did. This is, I promised some new assets for season 2. So if you're watching live, you saw the new opener for season 2. Same song, new opener, new video. Took me 6 hours of editing to make that little piece of junk. But my plan is this year, I'm going to try to get some really good reactions from you guys and use those. I'm going to try to start clipping a little bit more because we can do that with OBS, the software we use for streaming onto Twitch. We can do live clipping, and I plan on taking those clips and using them in the opener
with some videos.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
So it'd be really cool to have some awesome reactions, because I did. You haven't seen it yet, but there are new pictures for the Twitch channel that I photoshopped together for. So there's a screen that pops up when you go to the live stream page, and it says we're currently offline.
Yeah.
So there's a picture of me doing something like this, and then you guys doing something like that on the other side. Crop the background out, and then I added in a bunch of paranormal stuff in the background, like Bigfoot hanging upside down from the top of the screen, and
That's cool.
UFO and Mothman, and superimposed season 2. All this other stuff. So it will be the thumbnail for this season on YouTube. It'll be the thumbnail for season on Spotify, and it will be our thumbnail for season 2 and our offline screen for while we are offline on Twitch. So without further ado, hello, welcome to Beyond the Shadows podcast, season 2. I'm Victus.
I'm Aeon.
And I'm Paul.
We are your intrepid paranormal investigators. I bring to you, I submitted to you for the approval of the Midnight Society. I have a very wonderful story this evening, but if I recall correctly, you said you had something you wanted to open with this morning.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So I had a thought the other day. I was reading a book. I've been trying to pick back up reading fiction, more sci-fi and
What's that?
fantasy stuff.
What's a book?
A book. Yeah.
Book?
So it's a thing with these paper leaflets with some sort of scrawling across them that convey information. I know it's hard to explain, but it's a thing. It was a thing.
Huh.
I'm trying to make it a thing. Yeah.
I'm Googling it right
Google,
now.
what is a book?
What is a book?
Spell that for me. Book.
Is it 3 O's?
Yes. Is it 3 O's or 5? So in this, they were talking about that. I don't know, the one I'm reading is all that good of a writing, but the person's concepts are cool. So this person, it's the whole thing centers heavily around multi-dimension travel, right?
Yeah.
And this lady discovers it by accident. The scientist discovers it by accident, trying to solve something else. And here was the part that I thought was interesting. So when you think about alternate realities, right? If you're going to assume that alternate realities are triggered by a branching in decision, right? A branching in decision or a branching in probability, right? Like a rock fell here but didn't fall there, boop, branch, right?
Right.
So it gives you the impression in your mind that it's like this tree, right? That just like, you know, this thing becomes this independent thing, and then every time there's a change, it's just these branches. So her organization of it, when she starts doing these, she sends, you know, like 70,000 drones out to basically do surveys based on landform and so on, because it's all Earth, right? All the alternate reality, the positional. And they find, you know, because she's having this real hard time finding other populated Earths where a sentient life emerged. And she's trying to figure out this problem. And this AI in this book is like, well, she starts narrowing down the problem for her. And essentially she's like, I think that you have the concept or the layout wrong. She's like, what do you mean? And she says, well, you think it's like a tree, right? She's like, I think it's something different. So they start mapping it. And so what she figures out is like, so here's a great example of a fractal, right?
Oh, yes. Tessellations.
So if each one, right, is a branch, right, within that you have a bunch of branches. So what she theorized in the book is that like a single, you know, everything starts here at the center, right? And then a single branch, the big branch is about a major change, right? Like, did an asteroid hit the planet and change its entire atmosphere or not?
Right.
And then within that one, then all the tiny changes then spiral out into tinier and tinier changes, right? So less like a tree, more like a traditional geometric fractal, which is how she explains it in the book. The funny part about that is tree branching is a fractal. Tree branching is a bifurcating fractal, right?
Yeah.
With a little bit of Brownian uncertainty mixed into it, but it's a semi-random bifurcating fractal. So here's why I say that. So if you can, because you can also describe the formations of galaxy like a foam fractal, which is kind of the structure that you see in like a sponge, right? It's actually a fractaling of bubbles, you know, within the spongy openings. If you can describe the universe that way, you can describe cell propagation that way, you can describe landforms even. So like all the video games that we play, right? No one goes in there anymore and designs all the landforms by scratch. Here is a fractal designed landform.
Okay.
That was completely came up with introducing Brownian randomization and mixed with a fractal pattern. And then if you want to get into 3 dimensions, here's some more designed completely by fractal geometry, right? That's why all the stuff in video games now looks super realistic, because once they stopped having some dude sitting there manipulating panels, right, and rays, all of a sudden it looks really really realistic. Like if you look at Unreal Engine and how you basically paint a landscape, like you're like, I want jungle here, right?
Yeah.
It just makes completely randomized jungle without you having to program it. I say that to say all these things in the universe you can describe with fractals, and fractals, you know, cross each other, uncross each other, twist around each other, make these complex forms. And everything in the galaxy moves towards complexity, right? As you have entropy and heat death, right? As you have less resources, things get more complex. Life too. So in the pursuit of the things that are paranormal, right? What if, rather than having a single foundation of reality, right? And I don't mean alternate realities. I mean, you have the perceivable plane, right? What if you have a spreading foam either direction, right, away from that central plane that we're looking at, that fractals out as less and less tangible realities? The intersection of things that we think of as like the afterlife, spirits, all that stuff might be the crossing and recrossing of the fractal foam of reality itself. Existence, the larger fullness of existence was what it made me think of. That's what I was thinking on. And since we were doing a paranormal thing, today. I wonder if it's, you even describe the Higgs field, right? The Higgs field is what gives everything mass, but it's this foamy layer that essentially every molecule derives its mass from, and it also looks like a big fractal foam if you're going to describe it with mathematics. So something to consider. It might not be so outlandish that that there's intersections between types of existence, right? If everything has variation in this sort of granular gradation away from one thing into another thing, is it all that hard to believe that there's other forms of reality and existence that would encompass things like bleed over of what we think of as supernatural, right? Maybe it's not so supernatural, right? Maybe it's more inevitable.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's
a natural outcry of the complexity of existence, right? Just like the natural outcry of single-celled organisms is multi-celled organisms, is multi-organed organisms, is, you see what I'm saying? Like, so you have reality, and reality itself, by its complexity, begins to grow out of it other types of reality, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah. I'm with you now. Sorry. I'm still trying to multitask. I'm with you. Fractals are complicated as it is. I don't know.
So that was my thought, was, maybe all this stuff that we think of as being, hard to believe or hard to fathom or find or research, those things might actually, rather than being paranormal, might be super normal.
Right. Okay.
Like a natural spiraling out of things, of having an existing reality in itself. Reality might have gradients just by existing in its own right.
Right.
So that was my brain chewer for the week.
You went down that K-hole, didn't you?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was driving and I didn't have any music on, and that's, I had just finished a chapter in that book where she started describing in detail this different way of looking at probabilities of propagated Earths, was her whole thing. And I was like, well, what if you weren't talking about alternate dimensions? What if you were talking about alternate forms of existence? Right. So rather than alternate choices in Earth, what if it was like you have Earth and then you have Earth light and then you have Earth magnet? You see what I'm saying? Like, you have these gradients away from solid, yet they get less and less solid.
Yeah. Interesting, indeed. I seem further away than normal, don't I? So I think upon reflection that we had initially discussed that we wanted to do a cryptid tonight.
No, paranormal.
Paranormal? Okay, well, I dropped the ball. But
because we haven't done one in a long time.
Right.
We've done a bunch of UFO stuff.
Well, by happenstance, I just happen to be, there's 1,000 like unsealed UFO files or Aliens Explained on Amazon Prime. Just pick one, and just hit play because it had like 4 seasons. I was like, cool. This will make you, just good, just good listening. So I've got this stuff running, and I'm talking to my wife. I'm like, there's a case that I keep forgetting. I can't remember where it was. I was like, I could Google details all day long, but there's 1,000 UFO cases. So while we're talking about it, I'm trying to explain to her what happened. Right as I explained, I was like, it was on a military base somewhere in Europe, and like clockwork, the announcer in the TV, on a military base in England, a UFO landed. And I'm like,
that's the one. That's it.
Hold on.
That's the one.
Scrabble. Where's my iPad? I gotta write it down. This is the one. And then I was waiting for names. I was like, yes, that's it. went down a rabbit hole, and I dug up so much information on this case. So this, what we have submitted to you for the approval of the Midnight Society, the Rendlesham Forest UFO landing incident.
I've never heard of this one. I don't think I've heard of a bunch of different military UFO.
Yeah, I've
ones.
heard of
This one is wild, and it is so complex and crazy that usually when it comes down to like when we're submitting evidence for an episode, we try to I try my best to dig up what I can evidence wise, and I usually just got like a few stock photos or what have you, cookie
Right.
cutter photos or cookie cutter interviews. I'm gonna break the storyline just a little bit. This UFO landed next to a military base. One of the military personnel touched it.
Oh,
I have his.
no, I haven't heard this one.
I
haven't
have
heard
his interview.
Oh, nice.
So he goes back to the base. They send more people out. I have the recordings of radio communication with those people out there investigating.
It sounds familiar, but I don't think I know the whole story. Also, speaking of great shows, which I already told you this, but I'm going to tell everybody watching because why not give a shout out to Dan Aykroyd? Dan Aykroyd
Right?
has a show out on a channel known to cover history on Hulu. That is called The Unbelievable. And at first I was afraid when I watched it that it was going to be like William Shatner's thing right back in the day. And it has elements of that.
Proposed.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be bad. But we've talked before, Dan Aykroyd's whole motivation behind doing Ghostbusters was, his great-grandfather was a medium, and his father wrote books about mediumship, and his mom, was into communicating with spirits through TV static and radio static. So he even talks about that a little bit in the first couple episodes.
Yep.
About how that's what motivated him. And then he flipped his suit out.
Yeah.
And it had the Ghostbuster
say,
symbol inner thing.
I was gonna say, how cool is it that he had a custom, very nice jacket, by the way, with the Ghostbusters liner? And I did not know. Shame on me. I didn't know he wrote the screenplay.
Oh, you didn't? Yeah, we talked about it when we covered the stuff that prompted the Ghostbusters movie. But yeah, silk Ghostbusters lining in his nicely tailored suit. Way to go, Dan Aykroyd. Way to go. But it's very good. It's very good. They cover some stuff that I even want to go, like, it seems like they just chip the tip of the iceberg off to throw it in because they cram a bunch of stuff into one episode.
Yeah.
Which is what's great about it too. There's some of those in there we ought to dig into more.
Yes.
And cover on the show, especially the weird happening stuff.
I have a running list. So
okay. Yeah, because there were a couple in there. And watching that was what made me think we ought to do a spontaneous human combustion show.
Yes.
Because Paul has some theories on that. Because we've talked about it before. Because he asked me what I thought it was, and I was like, given the photos of the people, and the stuff. I mean, we don't need to get into it that far. I am baffled. I am baffled by the. And if it were one, I'd be like, I don't know, maybe something untoward was going on. But there's like 3 really good ones where like there's a leg left and nothing else is burnt in the room. Like, it's
the shrunken skull.
Yeah, the shrunken skull. Yeah, I don't understand that.
Little teaser, season 2. Get ready, everybody.
We're gonna do that for sure.
It's gonna be great.
So tell us about the Brits and their UFO encounter.
So as we know, I use ChatGPT to collate information for these episodes. I use it to make a loose script based off of what knowledge I already have. It's a good way to keep me in line when it comes to the story. Mm-hmm. Well, I've gotten some beta access because I use it so much. I got some beta access to some new features.
Mm-hmm.
And I was literally like, be more creative with the layout. And I'm just going to read the way this is written because it's done so well. But I was like, this is great. And like first time I was like, be more creative with the writing, and it gave a really cool. And it was like watching a movie. Then I was like, I literally said, I like the creativity, but keep the people's real names in the story. And I said, sure thing. Here's a creative retelling of the Rendlesham UFO landing story with the actual people's names in it. And it redid it. Still creative, but kept everybody's names in because the names come in later. It's very important.
Yeah. Okay.
The names are important.
Okay.
So, I'm going to read this the way it's written because it's done so well. It's done so well. Kudos to ChatGPT. Thank you so much. So, it was Christmas in 1980, and the stillness of Rendlesham Forest hung like a curtain. The air was crisp, the stars sharp and unyielding, as though guarding a secret that only the brave or the unlucky might discover. At RAF Woodbridge, Royal Air Force, by the way, near the sleepy village of Suffolk, that's in England, U.S. Air Force personnel were settling into their routine, but this night the routine would dissolve into a memory that haunted the witnesses for a lifetime.
This is good.
See what I mean?
Like this. I like it.
Excellent writing.
That's good.
And it's
That's
a little
good.
more engaging. It's a little more of storytelling as opposed to just shooting facts at you.
Right. No, I like it.
Because-
I like it. We'll do it like this. I dig that. Yeah.
Because
That's good.
like all last season, I was like, give me bullet points on this.
Right. Right.
And then I would cater the bullet points, add stuff in, take stuff out. And then I would rewrite it, and then I would resubmit it, give me bullet points. So now it's flowing together like a story, and it's done really well.
No, it's
So-
nice. I like it.
Night 1, the descent of the lights. The clock edged past 3 a.m. when Airman First Class John Burroughs spotted something unusual. From his position near the base perimeter, his gaze was drawn to the treetops in Rendlesham Forest. Lights, unlike anything he had seen before, dipped and swayed as if beckoning.
Paul and I can tell you it's always the gaze.
Yes, the gaze. Is that the gaze?
Go on. It's always the gaze.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, there you
It's a
go.
joke.
It's always the gaze. I like my joke.
Okay, that's a good one. That was a good one. I got you. All right. Yes, thank you. Cool.
I made myself cry a little bit. I laughed so hard.
It's good for you. It's good for your heart.
Uh,
So Burroughs reported the sighting, and a small team was dispatched to investigate. Joining him were Staff Sergeant Jim Peniston, Airman Edward Cabinsag. I'm sorry, this guy's name sucks. I'm sorry, dude. We'll just call him Airman Edward from here forward. Cabinsag is a horrible last name. I'm sorry, sir. So joining him were Staff Sergeant Jim Peniston and Airman Edward. Flashlights in hand, their boots crunched over the frost-laden underbrush as they entered the snowy forest. What they found there defied belief.
dun dun dun.
Wait, I got a sound clip. Hold on.
Aliens.
What they found there defied belief. A triangular craft rested silently on the forest floor. Its surface, metallic and black, shimmered as though alive, pulsating with an internal glow. Strange symbols, angular, sharp, and alien, were etched into its hull. The air thrummed with an electric charge. Peniston stepped forward, drawn to the object. He touched it with his fingers, grazing the warm surface. He would later describe the feeling as if his mind were overwhelmed with seeing a vast, downloaded binary code
This sounds very
flashing in his
UFO
mind's
sounds-
eye.
This sounds very sensual.
Yes.
This UFO sounds very sensual.
Yes.
Like
ChatGPT is sexy.
you'd swipe right on that on
Yeah.
Tinder.
For sure. But I could tell you all about this. Would you rather hear it directly from the man himself?
Oh, you have the recording?
I have an interview. Sir,
Sir?
sir,
Of course.
Okay, I'm going to warn you now. This has been pitch shifted for copyright reasons.
Ah, yes. So he's normally talks like Mickey Mouse, but now
It's not anywhere near as deep. We'll just say that. Could you hear that little clip? Okay.
yeah. Sounds
All
good.
right. Here we go.
my hand and ran them over the bottom cylinders all the way across. It felt like going from the smoothness of the metal to like feeling sandpaper on each of them.
But then, something happens that will change his life forever.
Out of all the glyphs, there was one that was larger than all the other ones. And so I decided to go ahead and touch that one. When I touched that symbol, I had an explosion of white light where I couldn't see. I was blinded. And I started seeing ones and zeros flashing. They were like inside my mind's eye.
Dun dun dun.
Okay.
Well, don't
I
stick
left
your finger in the alien outlet, dude.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
He just stuck his hand in the USB drive.
Yeah. Well, I left blanks in here intentionally. I just want to make sure. Okay. Yeah, we're going to watch this part.
To go ahead and pull my hand off and it stopped. The craft started to move a little bit and it was gone in a blink of an eye.
So,
Okay.
I've never tried that. Maybe I should.
When a UFO comes, let's try it.
Oh, I was just gonna do it in, like the end of your phone.
Forget probing me. I'm gonna probe you.
That's what you do when you get abducted. You just go you go on the offensive.
Yeah.
Try to probe them.
Yeah.
Oh,
just start
sweet.
Looking around,
Push
say
your
there are
hand.
some probes around.
you just
Sweet. Hold on. Give me my belt.
and they're like, whoa, wait, no, you're supposed to fight. No,
Wait, buddy. No,
Not me.
Stop.
not me. I've been waiting my whole life.
You don't know, man. I've been shining
been
the flashlight up for 30 years.
I've been waiting for you my whole life. Gray Grayerson,
Great.
you're mine. You're mine. Be like Wanda, that you're always
I
quoting.
got you, and I'm ready to go.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
I'm gonna use the soundboard more this season, so get used to it. All right. So Penice's step forward, drawn to the object. He touched it, his fingers grazing the warm surface. He would later describe the feeling as if his mind were overwhelmed by a download of binary code flashing in his mind's eye. Do you feel binary code when your fingers graze the object?
Something like that.
I feel something.
There's a tingling in the atmosphere, all right.
There's a tingling.
There's a tingling. I'm not sure if it's coming from my fingertips or somewhere else.
Kind of down where you get those sorts of feelings.
So the craft emitted a low hum. Anybody? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. All right. The
What-
craft
what's that
emitted a
thing?
low hum.
What was that one?
Go ahead.
It's
Oh, the
like,
the hum and the whistle.
Uh huh.
Yeah, it does.
I can't do
won't
it. I
come
can't whistle
through.
now.
I can do it, but I know that the noise filter is going to cut it out. So
Yeah, it is. It already is. Now that I did it a couple of times, it won't register.
So the craft emitted a low hum, and before the men could take another step, it rose silently into the air, and within a flash, it was gone, leaving it only in eerie silence and bewildered stares in its wake.
Wow.
So I want to make sure this is the right clip before I go forward. Okay, yeah. So this is, where's the name? Yeah, this is Burroughs. This is John Burroughs. This is the guy who originally saw the craft, and he was sent out with Peniston to go investigate.
So his thing says U.S. Air Force.
Yeah. It was
Yes.
US Air Force.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is
it's the U.S. Air Force in Britain.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, because you said RAF at the
Right.
beginning.
Yeah, it was a joint. It was a joint Air Force base.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Burroughs has a slightly different recollection from Peniston.
As we've seen many times.
Yes, with the
Yes.
way his eyes close, you can tell.
Similar but different, like
Yes.
like some sort of trans-space disturbance.
But wait, there's a different facet to the story that you haven't seen coming. Here we go.
I do not remember seeing Jim walk around the craft. I do not remember touching the craft. What I clearly remember was we got close to something, and the next thing I know, it appeared to go up into the sky and then shoot out towards the coast.
But the most unexpected difference? The time on their synchronized watches differs after the incident by almost 45 minutes.
Whatever we encountered affected our memory, and at one point, because of the static electricity or the whatever was in the air, it could have affected our memory, or could have affected what we saw.
45-minute difference between Burroughs and Peniston's synchronized military watches.
Do we have a thing on here saying this show's only for adults?
Yes, we do.
We do. Okay.
We
'Cause
do, yes.
I thought of an awful joke.
Yeah, before you come onto the stream, it comes up, and before you can hit play, but it says this broadcast is intended for viewers 18 and over.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, I thought of trans space or trans dimension. I'm like, it's dimensions with a wing wang.
Wah!
All right,
Go ahead, look at Paul. Look at Paul. Look at his face.
I saw it. I can see it on the screen.
Oh, geez, I need one more of these. Good.
Could you pass one over here? Clearly.
Yeah, here you go.
Yeah.
Imperial tonight, by the way. Imperial orange juice. All right. So, these two then left because they were freaked out.
Yeah.
So there's a number of there's a couple different conflicting stories at this point. One story says that they stayed there until backup arrived.
All right.
And then another story says that they left and backup came later.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we don't get it one way or the other directly from the men.
I was gonna say the guys themselves didn't say.
No. But I want to, we've only got, like less than a minute left on this. So let's see what else I got here. I forget.
One of the things that came up was that they said everything that night that was going on, all the radio traffic was being recorded through the command post.
Okay. This brings us to our next point. So they send people out that night to go out and look at the area, right?
Right.
So I have more evidence. I want to just skip ahead a little bit. I think this has got part of the. Okay, yeah. I did clip out the audio recordings. So what I'm going to do is, this. We need to open this with VLC. This is the actual audio from the recordings of people going out and investigating the area. You ready?
Yeah.
So he's got, for context, he's got one of those trailers. It's a big trailer with a generator, and it's got the tower that stands up and the 4 lights on it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? They've got one of those. It's military light. They go out there, they get it started, and as soon as they turn it on, it malfunctions immediately.
Huh. Okay.
So at this point, they're using a Geiger counter, checking
he
for
said,
radiation.
He said 100 clicks.
He's out 20 clicks.
Oh, he's out 20 clicks. Okay.
Or 20, I think he said 20 meters. He's out 20 meters, but he's getting minor clicks.
Oh, he said minor clicks.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to catch.
So hard to hear. I'll admit, it's hard to hear.
Yeah.
This is shortwave radio. It's never crystal clear. So what he's telling him is, he sees impressions in the ground, but they're unclear. So I have
photos of said impressions.
I should have photo of the impression. Hold on. Nope, not that one. Nope, not that one. Dang, I must not have got that one. So there, I did have oh, that's what it was. I had a copy of the original military photo of the area, and you can see the impressions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the area where it landed. Today, they have a recreation of the UFO in the place where it landed.
Oh, really?
Because the photos that were uploaded were very, very grainy. Practically, unless you're looking on your phone screen, it's not worth putting up on this screen. But, this is the recreation of what the UFO looked like and where it landed.
Oh. Okay. So a triangle pod.
Yeah.
Okay. We're familiar with that. About that size?
Yes.
See, this is what makes me feel like either these things are extra spatial inside, like a pocket
TARDIS?
space. Yeah, exactly. Just like the TARDIS for any of you that actually watch Doctor Who.
And this is very appropriate that it's in the UK and that's
right. Yeah. So it's either like the TARDIS inside and it's a non-real space, or these are all drones. And I tend to lean towards drones, but
so do I. I have for a while now. It came up in the conversation early on in season 1, and since then, I've really felt like these are drones, unless they're the massive ones.
Yeah, like the
then
Phoenix
tour
Lights kind of thing.
Yeah,
that I feel like was a piloted ship, because why send a drone that big? You don't need it to be that big to scope stuff out and send recordings. But yeah, these smaller things, I just feel like, or those little pods.
Yeah,
that we see. What do they call it? What
the little drones that we've been seeing lately.
Yeah, but what do they call them? A metapod? Metapods.
Yeah,
those metapods. I feel like it's a drone.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is either
a lot of space.
Yeah, this is either a drone, or it's one, maybe two drunk college grays. And they're like, let's go down there and mess with the humans.
Right. They borrowed their dad's convertible for the weekend and shot over to heckle the humans.
Yeah. Look at Clax on Flax Boy.
Do a couple of alien jump scares at their doors.
Yeah. Do a couple of UFO donies in their crop field.
Boogity boogity.
And,
yeah.
Flippity flax on. Yeah. So I actually accidentally closed out of that. So I got to open it back up.
Turns out the crop circle maker is just his flashlight.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh crap! Look what it did." Shines it out the side. Oh crap! Look what it did to his crop. Dang.
Oh no! Dang! Let's get out of here.
Yeah,
graffiti, man. You're tough. So it's a little hard to hear, but I've read the transcript of this. They're out there reading the Geiger counter, and they start seeing lights again.
I heard him say too that he had the Geiger counter set at 9/10.
Yeah,
was that the number? I
yeah,
heard?
yeah. He was
'Cause
making
you can
sure
set
it
'em
was
for
still.
sensitivity.
Yeah, he was making sure it was still within a safe range for
Yeah.
humans.
Yeah, which is funny because the military's opinion of what is a safe range for radioactive background radiation is way different than the civilian.
Yeah,
take on
absolutely. Yeah, so at this point, he says, "Do you guys have any lights on over there?" And he says, "Negative," because if you remember, their
They
generator
malfunctioned.
lights malfunctioned, and they requested another one. So they had no lights; they're only working with flashlights. And the commanding officer is at the base watching from a distance, and he asks them if they had lights on, and they said negative.
Mm-hmm.
Flashlights fail.
Best deflection needle I've seen yet. Okay, can you give me an estimation? We're on the 0.5 scale. We're getting that's approximately 0.125 hours. We're getting right at a half of a millirate. Last point. I haven't seen it go any higher. Let's go farther. Okay, we'll go out toward the... Now it's picking up. This is out toward the number one indentation where we first got the strongest reading. And it's similar to what we got in the center.
So what they're doing is they're taking the Geiger counter, going to the indentations. There's 3 in a triangle, and they're going checking the radiation readings at the center and at each impression of the triangle.
He said the highest they got was half a millirad.
Yeah. I don't know what's considered safe, but I know it's higher than normal.
Yeah, that's safe, but you wouldn't get a half a millirad, I don't think, like walking through town.
No.
You
So
know, for instance.
this is kind of long-winded, but wait, there's something coming.
I believe you.
Right here in the center? We found a small blast, what looks like a blasted or scrubbed up area here. We got very positive readings. See, is that near the center? Yes, it is. This is what we would assume would be the dead center. Just picking up more as we go along. Over here now. Up to 7/10, or 7 units, it's called on the 0.5 scale. Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we make a sweep? Here, I've got my gloves on now. Let's make a sweep out around the whole area, about 10 foot out. Make a perimeter run around it. Starting right back here at the corner. Back at the same first corner where we came in. Let's go right back here. Don't let it depend upon you counting the clicks. Okay, let's do it. Right, put the light on it and sweep around it. It was flat. Put it on the ground every once in a while. This looks like an abrasion. Okay, we'll catch that on the way back. Let's go around. Come back and hit it there. There's any interest right over here. It looks like an abrasion pointing into the center. It is. It may be old though. There's some scent marks or something on it. Let's go on back around. Alright. So it gives some extension on that. Yeah, this is an awkward thing to use, isn't it? All the shells carried on my ears, but this one broke. When we get anything further, I'm going to shut the recorder off till we find something. Pick it up. What are we up to? We're up to 2-3 units. Just like
Yep.
you're getting close to one pod. Pick it up, something. Pick it up. Okay, it's still not going above 3 or 4 units. Picking up more though, more frequent. Yes, you're staying steady up around 2 to 3 to 4 units now. Yeah. One of these trees is facing into the blast. What we assume is a landing site, all have an abrasion facing in the same direction towards the center. Same thing. Well, let's go around the circle here. Turn it back down here. Pick it up. Let me see that. Well, that's kind of funny. That's you're right about the abrasion. I've never seen a tree that's never seen a pine tree that's been damaged react that fast. To put that in. Yeah, you gotta say.
He said, "I've never seen an abrasion react to radiation that fast."
Yeah, so it's it's interesting too. The one guy who's obviously a subordinate is all fixated on the trees.
Yeah.
Right, as they're going around. And dude's like, look, I'm just trying to get these readings. Keep
Yeah.
doing the sweep.
Yeah.
And then finally he's like, here, give me that. And he takes the
Yeah.
takes the Geiger counter from him.
Yeah, because they're out there reading radiation. And he's looking for physical evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, but dude's like, yeah, we'll come back to that, but I want these readings. You keep reading them to me. I'm walking, you're following me. Give me the readings.
Yeah, this is military. Obviously military.
Yeah,
There we
and
go.
finally he's like, give me that. And he takes the
Yeah.
Geiger counter. It's fun.
Let's identify that as point number 1. Let's stay there. So y'all know where it is. We have to sketch it. You got that set, Nevels? Yes, sir. Okay. Closest to the woodbridge base. Point 1. Be point 1. Let's go clockwise from there. Point 2. Point 2? So this tree is between point 2 and point 3. And 2 other personnel requesting to randomly get you that elevation. Tell them negative at this time. We'll tell them when they can come out here. We don't want them out here right now. Okay, the sample, you're going to mark this sample number 1. Yes. Have them cut it off and include some of that sap and all. Is between indentation 2 and 3 on a pine tree about 5 feet away, about 3.5 feet off the ground. There's a round abrasion on the tree about 3.5, 4 inches in diameter. It looks like it might be old, but strange as a crystalline pine sap has come out that fast. See those other trees here that are damaged in similar fashion? Yeah, so I'll make before it Saturday landing. Okay, why don't you take a picture of that and remember your picture, and you gotta be writing this down. It's gonna be on the tape. You got a tape measure with you? This is the picture. Your first picture will be at the first tree. The one between Mark 2 and 3. Meantime, I'm gonna look at a couple of these trees over here. We are getting some. You're getting readings on the tree you're taking samples from on the side facing the suspected landing site. 4 clicks max. Up to 4. Interesting. That's right where you're taking the sample now. 4. That's the strongest point on the tree? Yes, sir. If you come to the back, there's no clicks whatsoever. No clicks at all? Maybe one. Side facing. Interesting. The indentations look like something twisted as it got, as it sat down on them. Looks like someone took something and sat it down and twisted it from side to side.
Oh.
Very strange. We're looking at the same tree we took the sample off with this, what do you call it, star scope? Star. Getting a definite heat reflection off the tree about 3 to 4 feet off the ground. Yes, where the spot is. Same place where the spot is. We're getting a heat spot on the tree directly behind us. I picked up the same thing. One off to your right. 3 trees in the area, immediately adjacent to the site, within 10 feet of the suspected landing site. We're picking up heat reflection off the trees. Like 5 and up. What's that again? Well, shine a light on again, Bob. Well, you have trouble getting you. Yeah, get the right on the spot, and then when you want them, okay, turn the light on. notice the white. Hey. You're right. There's a white streak on the tree. Indicates, let me turn around and look at this tree over here now. Just a second. White goose right on the tree. I can see it. All right, give me a little sideline so I can climb the tree. Okay, off. I lost the tree. Okay, stop. Right on. Hey, this is eerie. This is strange. Here, tell me one look at the spots in the ground. Whoops, watch your nose. We'll walk on all those spots. Okay, let's step back, not walk all over. Come back here, somebody put a beam on them. Or you're going to have to be back 10, 15 feet. You see it? Okay, lights off.
He took this long to dock.
What do you think about the spot? Yeah. Back here at the first spot. Okay, that's what we call spot number 3. Let's go to the back corner and get spot number 1. Spot number 1. Here's spot number 1 right here. Spot number 1 right here. There it is right there.
So what I like about this is these guys are having a genuine reaction to it. They're worked up. They are breathing so heavy that you can hear it through their radio.
Yeah. They also seem to be having trouble getting organized there at the beginning because they're so worked up.
Yeah. But I mean, I've heard a number of shortwave radio recordings, but I've never heard breathing before this one. Which this is something we've talked about before. You know, it comes back to some of that, you know, the regression hypnosis, how the breathing changes depending on what the person's going through. And I feel like these guys are having a pure and genuine reaction to what they're seeing. And it is so strange that they're breathing so heavy. Like, I could start breathing heavy now and you probably wouldn't hear me on this mic.
Yeah.
But they're breathing so heavy, they're, you know, you're picking up something through a two-way radio.
Right.
It tells me it's very, very genuine.
Yeah, they seem to be, the whole thing seems to be agitating. Though they are out there and they can't get any of their lights to work.
Yeah.
Their flashlights keep failing and their generator failed. Their light setup failed.
Yeah. So we're about, let's see where we're at with this. We got about a third left.
Okay.
So another seven more minutes. Bear with me.
Okay. Look around spot number 1 to the starlight scope.
So the starlight scope is heat.
Yeah.
Spot number 2 is right over here. Right here. See it? Okay, get focused on it. Tell me when. Okay. Lights on. Let's see what we get on in. Just a slight increase. The center spot. Well, it really isn't center. It's slightly off center. It's right there. Okay. We gotta get your reading on it right there. Okay. Tell me when you're ready. Okay, lights on. This is the center spot we're looking at now. We're almost the center. Slight increase there. This is slightly off center toward the 1-2 side. It's some type of abrasion or something in the ground where the pine needles are all pushed back more. We get a high reading about deflection of 2 to 3, maybe 4, depending on the point on it. Yeah. So there's a positive after effect? Yes, there is definitely. That's on the center spot. There is an after effect. What does that mean? The lights aren't turned off once we are to adjust. We are getting an indication of a heat source coming out of that center spot, which will show up on either some form of energy. It's hardly heat at this stage of the game.
Ooh.
Directly overhead, one can see an opening in the trees plus some freshly broken pine branches on the ground underneath. Looks like someone came off about 15 to 20 feet up. Some small branches about an inch or less in diameter. Within 148, we're hearing very strange sounds out of the farmer's barnyard animals. They're very, very active, making an awful lot of noise. There has been a segmentation. You just saw a light there. Where? Right in this position here, straight ahead, in between the tree. There it is again. Watch, straight ahead off my flash right there. So there it is. Hey, I see it too. What is it? We don't know, sir. So can I get some? Yeah, it's a strange, small red light. You'll see maybe a quarter to half mile, maybe further out. I'm gonna switch off. The light is gone now. It was approximately 120 degrees from the site. Is it back again? Yes, sir. Oh, down the flashlights in. Let's move out to the edge of the clearing so I can get a better look at it. See if you can get the star scope on it. The light's still there, and all the barnyard animals have got quiet now. Yeah, we're heading about 110 to 120 degrees from the site out through to the clearing now. Still getting a reading on the meter. About 2 clicks. Maybe count 3 to 4 clicks, getting stronger. Now it's coming up. Hold on, there we go. About approximately 4 foot off the ground. Comes to set to 110 degrees. All right, I just turned the meter off. Gotta say that again. About 4 feet off the ground, about 110 degrees, getting a reading of about 4 clicks. Yes, sir. Yeah, but it's dying. No, it's not. I think it's something other than the ground. I think it's something variable. A tree right on. We just got the first night bird we've seen. We're about 150 or 200 yards from the site. Everything else is just deathly calm.
So now they're chasing the light.
I saw a yellow tinge in it too. Weird. It appears to be maybe moving a little bit this way. Yes, it's better than it has been. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Pieces of it are shooting off. There is no doubt about it. This is weird. To the left. Yeah, definitely two lights. One light to the front, one light to the left. Keep the flashlights off. There's something very, very strange. Keep the headset on. See if it gets any stronger. Okay. Give us some notation that this is on a beta reading too. It's on a beta reading? Okay. Still has been removed. Okay. This is falling off it again. It just moved to the right. Yeah. Off to the right. Strange. Oh, well, let me do the left. Let's push to the edge of the woods up there. Can we do it without light? Let's do it carefully. Come on. Okay, we're looking at the thing. We're probably about 200 to 300 yards away. It looks like an eye winking at you. It's still moving from side to side. And when you put the star scope on it, it sort of has a hollow center, a dark center. It's like the pupil of an eye looking at you and winking. And the flash is so bright to the star scope that it almost burns your eye. We're past the farmer's house and across in the next field. Now we have multiple sightings of up to 5 lights with a similar shape and all. But
Okay, let me break down what's happening here. So they are using their Geiger counter to sweep the site, and they see a red light, a red pulsing light through the trees. And next to the base is a farm. So at first they hear the farm animals getting worked up, and then they go dead quiet. They see the red light. They start chasing it on foot, and they get about 200 yards away from the site, and they're seeing this red, yellowish pulsing light through the trees. And for those listening, star scope is infrared. It reads heat signatures. So he keeps telling his guys to read it through, or to look at it through the star scope. So what he's trying to do is read heat. So what we know about heat is it's radiant. There's a heat source in the center, and it radiates heat. But what they're seeing is black in the middle, no heat, with a ring of heat around it.
Right.
And it's pulsing, which defies physics in a nutshell. How can something radiate heat that isn't made of heat, right? So
Something to keep in mind, though, on the star scope or on any infrared heat scope. So we had one at the shop, and I had a guy make. I mean, I don't know if this guy's made a mistake or not, but I had a guy at the shop make a mistake, thinking a spot was cold because ours is self-calibrating. So like you hold it in one spot and it changes the scale, right? The color scale to fit. But if you move around too fast, it doesn't change the scale. And if something's hotter than the brightest color in the scale, it goes back to the beginning and looks cold, right? It scales it out and goes back to cold until you let it sit there and recalibrate. So it could have been that the center was incredibly hot, but it was outside of their scaling.
So this was in 1980.
So it wasn't auto scaling for sure.
No. Yeah, this was definitely was not auto scaling. So what you're gonna get with their star scope
is a gray gradient.
Yeah. So the hottest would be pure white.
But that's what I'm saying. If it goes outside of the scale that it's set on,
yeah,
or outside of the scale you're looking at, it's like the scale just repeats itself again. So it goes from the lightest and then turns back into dark again.
Right.
So it might have been incredibly hot.
Sure, yeah. Well, that makes good sense. We've got, like 2 minutes left on this. Here we go. Three objects now. All right.
When they're saying 5 to 10 degrees off the horizon, is that assuming the horizon is 0 and 180 and then up 5 degrees?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's pretty low on the horizon.
Yes. I'm assuming just above the trees at a distance.
Yeah. This
is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So this was so compelling, I had to throw it at you so fast. I'm sorry, but that was not immediately after the initial sighting, but this was 2 days after. I'm sorry, I got my information crossed. So this radio recording was from 2 days after the incident, the first initial incident with the two airmen. Later. Yes. Okay. So the first night, which is what we already covered, with Burroughs and what was the other guy's name? Yeah, the guy that we can't pronounce his name. So there was the night after. It says that that night, strange lights once again appeared in the forest. This time, they seemed to linger longer, shifting in color and shape. Burroughs watched them from the edge of the base, and the men disputed nervously what it was. And then there was nothing for the rest of the night. So this was night 3 that we heard the radio recordings. I'm just going to hit you with a blow-by-blow of what happened.
Okay.
So by December 28th, rumors swirling through RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodridge had reached the ears of Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, known for his no-nonsense demeanor. Halt decided to investigate the strange events himself. Which Halt is the one that was getting frustrated and just said, "Give me the Geiger counter."
Right.
That recording is what is known as the Halt recording.
Okay.
Excuse me. After the sun sank, he gathered a small team armed with Geiger counters, flashlights, and a tape recorder and led them into the Rendlesham forest. The forest was alive with anticipation. The men soon found themselves at the alleged landing site from the first night. Flemmy, wow. Oh Lord, now I got hiccups. The ground bore strange triangular indentations, as though something impossibly heavy had landed on the earth. Radiation readings spiked around the impressions, higher than the surrounding area, but still inconclusive. And then they saw it. A red orb, pulsating like a heartbeat, hovering above the trees. It moved with intelligence, dodging the men as they tried to approach it. Halt's tape recorder captured the astonishment of the men. He says, quote, "It's dancing in the air. It's turning towards us now." More lights appeared, darting through the skyline like fireflies on a mission. One descended and then cast a beam of light onto the ground, illuminating the forest floor with an intensity that turned the night into day. That was the point where he said it was like an eclipse.
Right.
The men stood in awe as the light seemed to scan the area, searching and probing. So that was night 3, what we just heard. By dawn, the lights had vanished, leaving only the memories and questions. Halt's tape became evidence, a chilling account of what his team had experienced. Jim Peniston struggled to make sense of the binary code he had claimed to have received. Excuse me. So that brings us to the last little snip of that video that I was showing you earlier.
I took my hand and whatever was in him, what was it? He said
Two crucial pieces of evidence to support the Rendlesham incident was the Halt memo and the tape recorder. But what we found out years later was that there was another even more significant piece, and that was the code that Peniston received when he touched the craft. But in this point in time, he was still keeping the code a secret.
I couldn't sleep. I was still having ones and zeros flashing. And after I pulled that notebook back up to look at the original glyphs I drew, I started writing it all out. And after I completed 16 pages, it felt great. But I wasn't going to report that because it sounds insane. So I just kept it quiet.
So, I'm going to show you some of his sketches. This is one of his sketches of the craft while it was on the ground.
Okay.
Curse these hiccups. So it's kind of cookie cutter. You know, we've got a triangle shaped craft with a triangle shaped dome on top of it. This has been, filtered a few times because the original sketches very old and very hard to see. Let me show you his other sketch. This is a hard copy of what he was seeing. I've tried reading some of this. I think it's written in some kind of shorthand. I can't make any sense of it, but I'm using it as evidence that this really happened.
Right.
So he goes on to talk about the binary code.
Okay.
He held onto it for 30 years before telling anybody about it. So what he did was he took the binary code and he gave it to some people that knew binary. You know, binary is a set of eight ones and zeros that represent a single digit.
Right.
So he wrote out 16 pages of binary code and gave it to a specialist. And what he came up with is really kind of strange. So, first thing came out was the binary code pointed to specific locations around the world. These locations have been tied to sites of historical, cultural, or mystical significance, including the following: the Great Pyramid of Egypt, the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt, the Nazca Lines in Peru, the Temple of Apollo in Greece, Sedona, Arizona, a location associated with spirituality and UFO phenomena, and Mount Tai Shan in China, along with a cryptic message. Alongside the coordinates, the code allegedly contained an English language message which read, "Exploration of humanity, period. Continuous for planetary advance." End quote.
Really?
Another part of the decoded message reportedly mentioned "eyes of your eyes," a phrase interpreted by some as a reference to highlighted awareness, perception, or possibly extraterrestrial observation. Some interpretations of the binary code include the date 8100. This has been a speculation to represent a year possibly far in the future through its significance, though its significance remains unclear. Which brings me to my last point from Peniston. So, in the original interview with Peniston, he was describing the symbols on the craft.
Mm-hmm.
And in one interview, only one, and it was this first interview, he had said that the symbols looked military.
Okay. How so?
Something about the way the symbols were, some correlation between the shape of the symbols, similar to, at the time, a current military symbol. I couldn't tell you what it is. It's been a little while since I've heard the original interview. But Peniston's theory is, get your tinfoil hat on. Yeah, this one. These damn.
I'm gonna have to start keeping one for when you say that, and I just pull it out from off screen and.
Yeah, I've had the same. I've actually pulled out the roll of tinfoil tonight, and I set it. It's downstairs on the counter. I keep forgetting it. I need to get a beverage. Excuse me. Oh my god. Why am I so phlegmy? The phlegmy made me hiccupy. I hope it's not too bad. So, Peniston's theory is that this UFO is not extraterrestrial, but human.
Okay.
From the year 8100.
I see. So he thinks it's a time traveling reconnaissance thing.
Yes.
You know, if you were going back from the year 8100, the available information from now would be much like us looking back 2,000 years.
Yeah.
You know, even though we store a whole lot of it, the truth is parsing it or parsing, you know, the evolution of civilization would be still very difficult.
Yeah. Because we think, sure, let's go back 4,000 years. And we're going to come off the ship. Hey, I'm just a friend speaking plain English.
Right.
It's not going to translate well. You're going to get
Right.
shot with bows and arrows, whatever. You know,
Right.
2,000 years BC. I'm sure they were going to throw spears or rocks at you. So, right, yeah. Aliens. Aliens. Wait, hold up. Wait.
Aliens.
So,
Ancient astronaut theorists proposed.
yes, that Pennison says that what we're looking at here was a craft sent from the year 8100 back in time to 1980 something or other to send a message of points and historical stuff that we already know about.
Yeah, I don't.
Let me look.
What they also may not have intended for him to be up there touching on it.
Right. Yeah. So
Quit sticking your finger in the socket.
in the full interview, he says that the information transferred, like he felt like it was the way that they were communicating to him was, we're not going to open the ship, but here, touch this and it will transfer what relevant information you need for this circumstance. So the historical points of culture and mystical significance, let's go back to that, was the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Nazca Lines, the
Right.
Temple of Apollo,
Okay.
Sedona, Arizona,
Yeah.
and then the one that weirds me out is Mount Tai Shan in China.
Yeah.
What is Mount Tai Shan in China? Do you know?
No, I don't.
I don't know either. Let's look it up. Mount Tai Shan, China. Should we add like UFO to that or anything? Paranormal?
Let's see where it is first.
It's a World Heritage Site. It looks like the Great Wall of China runs through it.
Oh, okay.
okay.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay.
Okay. So major.
On this mountain, there are 12 historically recorded imperial ceremonies in homage to heaven and earth, about 1,800 stone tablets and inscriptions, 22 temples, which together make Mount Taishan the most important monument in China, a world-renowned treasure, house of history and culture, and part of UNESCO World Heritage Center site.
Oh. So
Okay.
it pointed to, really, it seems like big, presumably human-created works.
Yeah.
I mean, the Nazca lines are a debate, I guess, but the rest of those were all, known to have been made by the hands of humans.
Right.
Right, because there's record of it. There's record of the, people doing the thing. Nazca lines, there's no records, but all those other things that were mentioned, there's historical records of the doing of those things.
Okay, so here's Rendlesham Forest. Okay, looky there. Rendlesham Forest UFO landing.
Of course, somebody dropped a pin on it.
But I don't see anything that could be a military base.
You mean besides that big airstrip right
It's
there?
closed. I think the base is
Oh.
closed.
Besides that?
It's the Ministry of Defense now. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah, there's
That's
the
a-
base. So
that's a
not
good
far.
that's a good stretch though by foot.
Yeah. and I couldn't really tell which way they were walking away from it towards the lights. You know, based on that, I think they talked about something about the base as the point of focus, but I didn't catch how many degrees off the point of focus they were looking. So, can we take a pee break?
Yeah.
I have to pee.
Yep. For once, I don't. We'll come right back. We're going to take a tiny break. We are grown adults and we have to use the restroom. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Animation over here on Paul's phone of the penguin on the toilet.
Yeah.
Very funny. I like that. Scrolling. Doom scrolling.
Yeah.
is
I needed something to show that we were actually in the bathroom doom scrolling on our phones.
That we were pooping. Pooping on our phones.
So I don't remember what it was when I was. I think because I didn't really when I was streaming like gaming, I didn't really do a be right back screen.
Yeah.
Because I would just sit here and play video games for like 4 hours, so I didn't really need to put much work into the BRB screen. But this one, it seems like we actually take breaks kind of regularly because we're grown-ass people.
Yeah,
but
we drink liquids.
Oh yes, I'm drinking lots of liquids over here. So, we were looking at Rendlesham Forest, and let's look at the UFO landing.
Is there a better picture of the glyphs they put on the craft?
Oh, I think there are. Oh,
there's
yeah, look at
one.
that.
That's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Here's a couple kids dabbing at the UFO site.
Oh, there you go. Because that's what you do. Some mushrooms at the UFO site.
Yeah.
Some very large mushrooms at the UFO site.
Yep, that's probably right.
There you go.
There you go.
It's a video. Hold on.
Oh, people have graffitied the UFO.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
cool.
You can't have nothing nice. I swear.
No. These kids.
This is cool. Look at this. This is up at the
That's the metal sign that's up.
yeah, it's a metal sign. That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah. I like that.
It's kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
Barely hear birds.
I like that the spacecraft has the little Spartan ridge going up the middle of it.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, here you go. Yeah.
Oh, it's all the same glyph, sort of, except the center part's a little different.
Oh no, they're all different. Here we go. Let's zoom in as far as I can. They're all a little different. I wouldn't use the word military.
No, not me. But I guess maybe he's thinking like the patch thing, like the insignia for certain, like a particular battalion. But that's not, they don't read that way to me, but.
Nope, the doggo. Yes. Investigate. Oh, there's a better picture. Here we go. Nice and clear.
Huh. Interesting. An F?
Yeah, backward F.
Yeah.
This is the only one that looks humanoid.
A puzzle?
Yeah, like a puzzle piece, like a messed up swastika. They're gonna think we're bad guys. How's it go again? Yeah, that looks
Nobody
good.
knows.
Triangle with some circles in it. Yeah, it's. I don't know why he was thinking it looked military.
Yeah. Also, I find it interesting because he didn't describe it as being black.
Yeah. There's like 4 or 5 interviews, and each one's just a little bit different. But oh man, look, somebody spray painted all over it. Oh man,
everywhere.
That makes
so I
me
guess they had to
sad.
repaint it black.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why it's black.
Maybe they might have originally been silver,
Yeah.
and then they effed it up, and they're like, "Oh, I guess we shouldn't have spent all the money to make it stainless."
Yeah, look, go back up. Go back up, back up, back up. Stop. Is that
right
more
there?
silvery looking?
No, it's. I think it's black with the sun shining on it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think it might have been silver at one point, but I can see why they ended up having to paint it.
Boy, why do people do that?
Because anywhere you put a monument where nobody's looking after it, some dude's gonna spray a penis on it. That's just how it is. If it's gonna be a penis or a pot leaf,
Or face.
or a smiley face. You know.
Penis or a pot leaf.
It's it's true. That's funny.
The best inflatable suit ever made.
Yeah. Getting a probing.
Yeah, there you go. Here's a close up. Yeah, I wouldn't call these military in any sense of the word.
Not to me. I don't know. It seems
Oh,
weird.
no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame.
It really is. Stop it, people.
Yeah, don't
Stop
do
it.
that. Don't do that.
This isn't cool. You might be 12 and thinking this is cool. It's not cool. I'll be the
Yeah.
first to tell you.
Yeah, don't spray the thing that somebody made. It's
Do you know how much money this must have cost to build? Even
Plus
a fake UFO.
Plus getting them to, getting them to let them do it in the first place. But
Yeah.
I think that's what's the farmer's land out there.
No, it's owned by the forest, basically the Forest Service.
Yeah.
Is it?
it's
Okay,
the
yeah,
Forest
getting them to
Service
let you
owns it.
put the monument up in the first place, and then getting the money together to do it. I don't
Don't-
guess I know who got the money together to do it, but
Look how many
Don't-
humans could ride on it.
Yeah, don't take pictures like this of your stupid graffiti kids. Take pictures
Yeah.
like this of all your homies flipping the bird
yeah, that's much more wholesome.
and the
We like
dog
that
butt.
more.
This is better at least. There's no graffiti.
That you
Yeah.
can see.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I
they
don't
covered
think
up
this
their people butts.
interesting
Is
choice
that-
of filter.
Yeah, I had a theory too. After
Yeah?
listening to the dude's account of the red orbs.
There you go. Nice and clean. That's the way we should see it every
Oh, that's
time.
cool. That looks nice.
That looks really nice. Yeah.
That looks nice. So it talked about how the red orbs sort of like almost looked like they were winking at him, and then
Yeah.
later sort of looked like half moons, right?
Yeah.
And that they were scanning the ground. So check this out. Think of an eyebot, right? Like an eyeball.
Yeah.
When it's looking at you like this, or even a camera device, because you were talking about how the center was cold, right? Check this out.
Yeah.
Think of a camera device looking at you like this, that rather than our tech, the iris is like that, iris is like this, like an eye, right?
Yeah.
And when it was done looking at them and realized there wasn't anything going on with them, they were just looking back at them, it does this. So you can see the edge,
Oh, yeah.
right? Where the part generating the heat is looking down, but it makes it look like a half moon as it's scanning the ground.
Yeah, because they kept saying it looked like an eclipse.
But
Yeah,
if you
because
think of a
then
ball that has part of it that pulls back, right? Whenever it looks down, you're going to see the protruding part, and then the edge of it's going to be covered by that skin.
and if you remember, it said that there was a beam of light. It looked like it was searching the ground.
Yeah. Yeah, so I wonder if whenever it got done looking at them and decided they weren't doing nothing, it went back to what it was there for.
So, I'm going to play devil's advocate, as I do. The prevailing normal theory, heavy air quotes, all four fingers.
The terrestrial theory.
Not
So
the
there,
alien theorist theory.
yeah. They, hold on, wait. I got an audio clip. Not,
Ancient astronaut theorists proposed
but
That
the normal people, they said this distress beacon, or this beacon right here, which is a lighthouse, a very, very small lighthouse,
Mm-hmm.
is what they were seeing through the trees that far away.
Maybe.
Like as it came around to inland.
Yeah. But let's look at this. Let's look. Look how short this is.
Yeah, and also there's the trees, and they said 5 degrees off the ground, and if they're up here on the land, I assume that going towards the water it has to slope down some. At best
Yeah.
it's flat. At best it's flat. But the likelihood is it's a slightly lower elevation down to there.
And
that
I just saw this. Are you ready for this? This mind ball. I don't want to use the word that I wanted to say, but you know what I mean. Mind fornication.
yes.
Wait, not that one. Hold on. Do you see?
Atomic
Weapons Research Establishment, Orford Ness. This was an atomic research facility on the beach, closer to the base than the lighthouse was.
Right.
So what do we know about atomic testing and UFO sightings?
They tend to go in hand.
Yeah. So there's that, or I understand that this was a nuclear site. The base, in fact, may have been a nuclear site.
Housing weapons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Housing weapons. And it was a joint base. The SAS tried to, tested the security of it with some regularity. And apparently, sometime before this happened, according to some British investigative journalists, the SAS had parachuted in at night in black parachutes, and they were detected and stopped by the U.S. Air Force police. The MPs got them, or the whatever the military police are called.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the Air Force are called MPs.
Yeah.
They got them, and I think in the report they said they were, alien whatever to the base. So they're like, the SAS is like, oh, we're gonna play a joke on you and we'll show you aliens. And so this is supposedly a joke played on the USAF by the SAS. So here, that maybe not, but what I think we do know is that this is a nuclear site. We're never going to have a good answer for it. Either it's a nuclear site connected with a UFO, or this is testing security. This is doing all sorts of different things. I don't know. I tend to think that it's when we ignore the binary code. When we ignore the binary code, I think that I think this is a joke played on the Air Force. And
Boo!
Those recordings, I know. I'm just not buying this. Those recordings are just the Air Force believing what they're seeing and all this stuff supposedly going on. There was quite a investigation by British journalists about this. And the determination was it was a joke. It was a practical joke played on the USAF. And they were recording them, and the SAS is probably just over there laughing and laughing and laughing, listening to all that going down. The binary code, boy, I don't know what to think about it. But when you take each of these pieces of information together, they're not great.
Right.
So we have two witnesses, not great. They have different stories at the same time. They tell different stories all the time. We have the witnesses that came later that didn't really see anything. There is some suggestion that those marks were rabbit diggings. Maybe not. Who knows? But none of this stuff, none of the pieces of evidence by themselves are great. And when you have a lot of pieces of evidence together that are by themselves not great, it doesn't thereby transform the whole thing into something great. The totality of it usually, and by usually, I mean just darn near never, makes the whole thing better, right? Then guy comes along and he says, oh, by the way, there was a binary code, but I needed to wait 18 or 19 years to write it down and tell anyone about it.
Okay,
I'm
with you.
I just don't know about that. Why didn't you say it sooner? And sometimes he says on TV that he was, that he was told not to say anything, yet here he is saying something. So, I don't know. It just doesn't sound very good. Usually when someone suddenly magically remembers something later, or they're suddenly able to say it much later after an event, personally, I just disregard it because it just doesn't feel very true. And then if these are, aliens or people from the future or some other thing, perhaps, they're over here using some kind of a binary code that they're translating into ASCII for us to try to figure this out. I don't know. It just seems exceedingly unlikely to me.
So
we like to look for patterns as humans, and one of things about this. When you have little tiny pieces of evidence that don't make any sense or are not very good pieces of evidence together, it's easy to put unrelated pieces of evidence together and then thereby see a pattern. Oh, this was for sure a UFO. And the same thing I think with this binary code. If you're looking for something in a code, you're going to find anything. That's why, for example, in this country we live in, which is nominally Christian, boy, open the Bible and you can find all kinds of code in it, which really probably doesn't mean anything that most people think.
Yeah, like the page 9.
I'm just not buying this, and it's so funny because I used to really like this whole story. I was really vibing with this story. And then when I started actually looking at it, looking at the pieces of evidence and thinking about it half critically, I just thought, yeah. And the problem is we'll just never know because of the secrecy surrounding nuclear sites in this country and in the UK.
I want to point out one little grain of uncertainty.
Yeah,
small.
Go ahead.
Small grain. Let me pull it up. It's on the video of the interview.
I took my hand and ran them over the affected her memory, and or in the air, it could have affected her memory, and
So
They're
Burroughs is telling us his side of the story. Watch his reaction when he says, "I don't remember even really touching the craft." His reaction is almost like Burroughs changed his story last second to what he really thought. Oh, too far. Where's it at? Where's it at? There it was. Watch his reaction. Oh. Yeah, look at that reaction.
Yeah.
You think he doesn't like what he's hearing? What are you saying about the reaction?
I think he looks exasperated.
Yeah, like, B word, please.
Yeah.
I feel like they had talked beforehand and said, we're going to go in there and tell him it was UFOs. Make sure we stick to the story. Very matter-of-factly, by the way.
Yeah.
I do not remember seeing Jim approach the craft.
And then he's trying to cover it up and say, but listen, it might have affected our memory. I don't know why Minister or whatever his name is. Yeah.
Look, this dude's got a big sigh. That's a big sigh. B word, please. That's the face. That's the face.
I know this is pitch changed, but it might be.
Yeah, I try not to get copyright violation here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, like read his body language right there.
Yeah.
So
see the shoulders drop?
Yeah.
Ugh. He went with his story. Ugh.
Yeah. Andrew.
So
Aeon.
I don't know how I feel about this one. I mean, there are interesting points. I mean, I don't discount, weird security measures to make sure they're paying attention, right? Because it is, it's likely a nuclear at least materials handling place or weapons handling place. So they do a lot of strange things to make sure everybody's super on their toes all the time. Because it's easy to get complacent, right? Nothing ever happens most of the time, and you need to be ready for the one time that it does. So that's interesting that you mentioned about the SAS doing those not so mock raids, onto the base.
Right.
Because that's a really genius idea to make sure everybody stays on their toes.
And I wonder if that's not an explanation for a lot of these supposed UAP, UFOs, and all these, military bases where they're, nuclear assets.
Here's the thing that's weird to me, I guess. I don't know, because I haven't walked around and really played with a Geiger counter outside of...
how do you fake radiation levels?
Well, so in physics class we messed with one, but just to show you that, here's why I was remarking on, him talking about the scaling. So even in the 80s, any Geiger counter is meant to do more than just read for dangerous radiation, right? You use it to read a gradient of radiation. So you can set it to, 1/10 scale, where you take, the whole scale, you take 1/10 of it and expand it out to the whole scale so you can read finer readings, right?
Right.
So, he was talking about he was at 9/10, which is almost the scale macroed out as big as far out as you can go, right? Like on Google Earth, you're almost out at whole Earth. So, and he was saying that he was getting a reading of, between 3 and 5 millirads. I feel like if I were standing around with a Geiger counter in here, and I was reading on 9/10 scale 3 to 5 millirads, I would be concerned. Not because, it's going to kill you, but that's like, somebody with a not so shielded x-ray machine, like a doctor's office next door that their shielding on their room is not good. Like, not going to kill you, but definitely something you shouldn't be just standing in every day all the time, right? So, if you can Google how much that, equates to, I'm not sure, but the fact that they were getting no deflection until they got near the site, and I agree there's a bunch of nuclear stuff going on around in this area. The fact that they're getting readings on the Geiger counter, I think is of any of this other evidence, of any of this other stuff, that's the more compelling thing to me. Because they got higher readings. They got readings on one side of the tree, but not on the other side of the tree, right, facing towards the center area. They got readings in each of the places where it touched the ground and left, the indentations. They're getting higher readings there versus 1 millirad. They're getting 3 to 5. On the tree, they're getting 5 to 7, right?
So it says 1 is the equivalent of safe exposure to radiation. 1.
Yeah, so I find it hard to believe, and I don't know what the SAS's mandate is for doing, stuff to put people on the base on edge. I have no idea.
We'll never know.
Yeah, and it's not something we can look up, but I feel like tampering with the ground to make it read,
radiation. Yeah,
radiation seems outside the bounds for a practical joke and to mess with and be like, oh, we'll make them think it's aliens. That seems the more compelling part to me. Now, you have operator error. Someone could have thought they were on 9/10 scaling and they were really on 2/10 scale, like they were on the other side of it, right? They're really at 2/10, and so they weren't actually reading a whole, even a fraction of a millirad. That's possible. You could have a dirty receptor, because one would assume they're using these Geiger counters for other things besides going out in the woods and testing stuff. If you touch a surface, you have a foul detector and it needs to be replaced on these things. So even there, you have a lot of room for for other ways you could explain it away. But that the radiation detection seems to be the most compelling part to me, because I have a hard time feeling like anybody playing a joke, even one for security reasons, is going to employ nuclear material to make a false reading, right?
So I'm gonna bring it up. It was mentioned very, very briefly in the audio recordings, but on one of the trees near the triangular landing site, there was a crystalline structure on the tree.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, well, look, there's crystals growing on this tree, and it's still showing a heat signature."
And they said it sounded it seemed like they described it alternatively as looking like the sap came out and made a crystalline structure, and
Which would take incredible heat.
Right. And I don't even know under what conditions tree sap crystallizes. Will it do it with heat, or does it just get runny?
Yeah, let's find out. Let's Google it.
Probably do it with heat, but this was just early in the morning on December 26th.
It was cold.
So it was cold.
But they're picking up heat patches on the wood, which wood is a good retainer of heat. So had something been there, if we're gonna go the UFO route, had something been there exhausting gases, right? They're gonna retain the wood. If it sat there as long as everybody seemed like it had, it would have retained heat. But you said this was day 3.
Yes.
It's not gonna retain heat from day 1 all the way to day 3. Not convection heat, like like exhaust heat.
So it says, yes, tree sap can crystallize, particularly when exposed to heat over time. When it hardens, it's often called amber. Once the wood is heated up to 160 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit, the sugars in the sap will crystallize, freezing them in place. So the wood will no longer leak out sap.
Okay, so it makes a crystalline structure, but does it look? You see what I'm saying? Like, because amber doesn't look crystalline. It is a crystal, and the chemical structure of it makes a crystalline structure on the molecular level. But you wouldn't look at it and be like, "Oh, that's crystalline." You'd have to tap it and be like, "Oh, shit, it's hard." So it's that.
Yeah,
that's what I was wondering. Does it look like that? See, I wonder if they weren't seeing something like that.
I've been in the woods a lot. I've never seen that.
I
have not. No.
Oh, have you?
Where did you see that?
Where? Tell us now.
I think in the Gila Forest, the Gila National Forest in southern New Mexico.
Okay.
Huh?
Because that's what I was wondering about is basically all the things that seem like a lot of those things together are hard to put down to a prank. Is my concern. The heat signatures on all the trees on one side facing where this stuff was, but I guess it could have been equipment. You could have had equipment there.
Could have had flares.
Sure.
Could have had flares. I don't know.
I guess
that's what the British journalists came to decide is in supposedly the SAS had some kind of material and flares and other stuff attached to kites and balloons or something, that black kites and balloons that were radio controlled. Sound like a drone. Sounds like a early drone.
That seems like an awfully convenient explanation.
Right.
Convenient.
Yeah.
I really wish there were aliens. I used to really love this story. I knew the whole binary thing, but I had forgotten, or maybe I never knew. It took him 18 or 20 years to write it down and tell anyone about it.
Right.
And I used to really like this story. And I used to think, well, that's proof of, alien visits. But when you look at it, you think about it critically, all the pieces, it's just, boy, this is not the one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the thing about the Geiger counter too, I like it as positive evidence, except probably the guys actually using them on the bait. While many of them are probably trained on how to turn it on and take a reading, the truth is you'd have a radiological technician doing actual readings on stockpiles to see if you're having, see if material's escaping.
Right.
this guy was not that guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's obvious from the radio recordings he was not the
He's not that
technician.
guy.
So
I'm
he was
worried
the guy
about
who was like-
operator error.
He was like,
I'm
here,
worried
take
about-
this.
Let me be terrible.
I'm worried about operator error.
Right.
As much as I like it.
Right. I like it too, and I'm with you with operator error, and here's why. And I'm going to say something that's probably is going to sound terrible. There are great people in our military, and there are great officers in our military. But think about the people that we all went to high school with in our various high schools that immediately signed up for the military.
Yeah.
These are
Them
the
as a
ones
box
out
of
there.
rocks.
Yeah. These are the ones out there that night trying to operate this thing and see. And finally, even you heard the supervising
work?
officer. Just,
How does this work?
yeah.
Does
Just finally
this
say,
work
here,
out?"
give it to me. Right. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Because
Am I reading it correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No one knew what they were doing. No
Ah.
one had things set right.
Yeah.
How do I?
Right.
And that's my
exactly.
concern with the.
And
How do I
that's sort of
remember-
my concern. I appreciate they went out there and did what they could, and that's great, and it's super. But oh my goodness, I don't know how much we can rely on that, and that's certainly against the popular American culture right now.
Yeah, I also wonder too about having the generator and the lights fail. I mean,
It's
Something
military.
the military has.
yeah, I mean, how often
Built-
did they
It
have
was
those
the
out?
80s.
Do they use them often?
Right.
It's a
And-
trailered thing. They
right.
drove it down the road. It bounced around. Maybe they knocked out some of the bulbs, so when they turned it on, element was exposed, goes out. I don't know.
You
He
know-
didn't say the generator didn't work. He just said the lights
Right.
went out.
So just so they went out, so they bought something the military did, or they built something that every single thing on it, or the thing as a whole, was the absolute lowest bidder. So of course it doesn't work. So that's just completely no shock that something about it doesn't work. When I was a paramedic in New Mexico, there was a military base very nearby, and we'd often have things that we were either inside the base, called into the base, or it was right around the borders of the base that some stuff was going on. I worked nights or evenings a lot of the time I was working there. The MPs would be there, we'd be there. Maybe someone from the base hospital would be there, but maybe not. And of course, the only flashlights that worked are the ones we have. So they're like, if the flashlights wouldn't work, I'm like, sounds like every military response I ever went to. It's just crazy. It worries me about our military.
So I guess that's my problem with it. Is
Yeah.
the thing that I want to hold on to the most is probably also, at least for me, very easy to
Right. So
find
that-
reasons to discount it.
Right. So for me, like that thing, when I think about each piece of evidence, so there's testimonial evidence by the people that were handling it. Then there's readings from the thing itself. So we have the Geiger counter itself. Then we have the reading from it. And do we have the person who's doing the reading? Do they know what they're doing? Do they know how to operate? And is their testimony reliable? These are people that would swear to God in heaven in biology class sitting next to me that horsehair worms really came from plucking the hair out of a horse tail, throwing it into some water, and leaving it there for a while. And so, I don't know. I just don't know. So when you look at these pieces of evidence, I guess what I'm saying is that when, while you think it was great, and like the totality of it sounds great, but boy, when you start pulling it apart,
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I'm on board.
I'm so sorry because I loved this story. I loved this story until I did reading for it, and then I was like, oh no!
And think on this too.
You just ruined everything.
Think of in this case, these guys are not scientists, right? They're sent out there on something different than their normal daily routine. Right. 2 days after, these two guys claim to have seen and touched a craft, right, in strange lights. They go back to the base, and a bunch of people heard about it. Then they send these guys out there, right? The one guy who's very serious but has also heard the story. they have lights go out, flashlights stop working, and now they're in it. Right now they're invested. Now they think something weird's going on. So now you have confirmation bias, observational bias, where now they see red lights behind the trees, and they assume it's something weird going on. Also, they're in the trees, man. A tree way off in between you and a light, when you move from one side to the other and a tree gets in the way, it'll look like it winks.
Yeah.
Like it winks.
Yeah.
Like they're describing. And I don't know about the Starcam thing. I don't know what to say about that.
Yeah, there are things in here that are weird, right? So here's what we know about this. It's weird.
There are a lot of weird things in
And
it.
the descriptions of it are weird.
Yeah.
I can see that this would be, if I were in the SAS and wanted to get back at the Air Force for this, I can see why this would be a super place and a super way to do a practical joke on these guys. I think it'd be amazing.
Because another way to explain the iris thing scanning the ground is, rather than scanning the ground, they really always intended these lights to be facing the guys to mess with them. And a faulty screw or an untightened thing, and the rig goes whoop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's scanning the ground. They're like, oh well, thank God, this is even better than we thought.
Yeah, they're like,
Yeah.
wow, happy accident. They're probably, I just hear them over there all laughing, right? And so, but there are weird things here, and what caused those weird things, I just don't know. I just don't know.
Because you can
Aliens.
take the other side too and be like, oh, well,
Aliens.
so you're discounting all these weird things, and you keep saying this weird thing is not related and this weird thing is not related.
Right.
How? What's the chance that
Sure.
this many weird things happen at one time? And then you can argue the other side of it.
Of course
Yeah.
you can, and that's kind of what makes this so good, and probably will make this an enduring story.
Right. Why it's stuck
Right,
around, why they
long-term
built a
thing, right.
monument,
Right.
why they got, dudes' drawings to do the symbols on the side of it. Though I have to say, his interpretation of those symbols looks absolutely nothing like literally every other description of symbols that are on craft and pieces of, stuff.
Yeah.
All the stuff that I've seen looks almost closer to like circuit boardy.
Right.
Yeah, I could
so
go into my
someone-
closet right over here and pull out my dad's old military jacket and show you the patch, because my dad worked in radio. I
Yeah.
can show you the patch. It looks nothing like that stuff. Drippy.
Right.
Drippy
Yeah, the
is not
drippy
a
thing
military.
really. Yeah, the drippy thing really kind of threw me too. I
I
didn't.
wonder if
expect
that's
it.
just not artistic license.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Symbolizing that he put his hand on it.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. All the sketches I've seen of people being like, yeah, the glyphs were like this, right? They look somewhere between circuitry and elvish.
Yeah, that's what they
Like
got.
techno elvish is kind of what it
Yeah.
makes me think of when I look at it. I mean, that's me, reinterpreting, but it doesn't look anything like that.
Oh,
That's
so
the
I
thing
think
he
it's
had going on.
I think it's safe to say, as much as I want to believe it,
Boy, I want to believe this too.
that this probably didn't happen.
I cannot believe. I cannot believe this is the conclusion that I've come to.
Yeah, like I
I'm
thought for
so
sure.
sorry. I
As
thought
much
this was a
evidence as
good
I brought
one.
forward, I
I
dug
know.
really deep and pulled up so much good
I
evidence
know
for this
you did.
episode.
Did
And
did that Peniston or whatever his name is, the one that saw the binary code? Didn't he early on in that photo you showed us, or some other photo? Didn't he draw?
yeah,
kind of
that
what the
was.
symbols looked like.
Let me pull those back up. Let's see what
I'm
we
troubled
got.
by those symbols. It's just really interesting. And where did he come up with this?
No, that was the sketch of the UFO.
And also I'm a little concerned that one guy's like, I don't remember any of us ever touching the craft.
Oh, so this is a
But he does
sketch by
claim to have seen
Burroughs.
it.
Yeah, down at
That
the
was
bottom.
the one that said that he didn't touch it.
Yeah, but he saw it.
Yeah, he does say that he saw it.
That's
So
interesting.
let me say, all the all the evidence that says it didn't happen, how is it that these two people that saw it day one saw it up close and can recall it clear memory? But this sketch shows a different shape. It's a triangle, sure, but no dome on top.
Well, so this almost looks like a like he drew out where the feet were, except
Yeah.
that's which is kind of like dude's other sketch. He shows like what looks like a little gantry under, like a little scaffold underneath it that it's sitting on, and that
Yeah.
circle at the top is a light.
Yeah.
Right. But so I think it's a light on the tip of it, and I think he's drawn like a bottom up view, weirdly, of this thing.
It's just
Because in dude's other sketch, it does look like it's sitting on like a, which also makes me wonder too, because it looks like a triangle sitting on a square scaffold, like metal scaffold,
yeah.
which almost makes you wonder if they threw something together to set out there and mess with dudes. But then you'd wonder how'd they get out there, and then how'd they haul it off without anybody seeing them.
Right.
Seems like a lot to play a prank. Seems like a
It
lot to play a
does.
prank.
It does, but
I don't know. I think that the British journalist explanation was a bit of an oversimplification of it,
yeah.
and they kind of just read, just skipped over a bunch of stuff.
And who knows? Maybe Peniston was like a diehard UFO fan. Maybe he wanted that to happen when he touched it.
Right.
And it took him 30 years to figure out binary for GPS
Right.
location.
Right.
I read a book recently, and I can't.
Congratulations.
remember- Well, thank you. One of those weird things.
First.
Hold on.
It was the first for everybody.
Books.
Right.
With 3 O's or 4?
One U book, BUK. Hold on, and I'm going to tell you what it was. Because I've been trying to
Okay.
think about this whole, this whole thing. What does this, what does this mean?
Was it a U with like the 2 dots over the U, like German? Buch.
No, it's more like the way you spell
Yeah.
bukkake.
Oh, okay.
So there's a professor, Pasulka, D.W. Pasulka. She's written a book called American Cosmic. She's written several books, probably very interesting. She's a professor of religion. So you're like, why is a professor of religion writing books about UFOs and that sort of thing? And her ideas, listen, these UFO sighting and all this idea about this and all these people, this is essentially a new religion in this country. Pasulka, Pasulka is her name, in American Cosmic. And that's a really interesting concept that this whole idea might be an American religion because or a new religion in this country and in this world, because you have people that are having these what are almost mystical experiences. That's certainly the story here. And they're out talking about it. It even has similar stories, kind of a similar theme as we see in some biblical stories. So let me tell you a Bible story and then let me relate it.
Ooh, okay.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Pick 3 or 4 things that Jesus did. Then he tells all the ones gathered, go and don't tell anyone about this.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
You're saying ones that he specifically told them not to
No,
tell
just pick any. I'm just telling you. There are several times he's done something, and he's told them don't go and tell anyone. Like healing the blind person, don't just go on about your business.
So
and
then they
don't tell.
immediately went and told everyone.
And so
Right.
But the fact is, the same thing happened here. There's always some element in these stories of some higher authority, the higher power, someone somewhere is telling them, don't go tell about this. And that's a pretty pan-religious thing. Something will happen, something amazing will happen, and you'll be told you can't go tell about it for some reason now or or at all, or ever, or maybe not till you hear more from us, or something like that.
Yeah.
Even some of the apparitions of the Blessed Mother. Some things are forbidden to be told. And so we have the same thing here, right? So he's told never to say anything. So suddenly 18 or 20 years later, he goes forward and comes up with this binary code, or he writes it down, the binary code he's known all along. Pick something a little more modern and pick, the foundation of Mormonism with Joseph Smith. He's given these plates and he's told not to show them to anyone. The supposed golden plates from which he claims to have translated the Book of Mormon. And he's told not to tell anyone. And then there's supposedly witnesses to it. But then these people later claim, well, I saw it with my spiritual eyes, not my actual eyes. So, right. So, it's hard. I mean, but that's a pan-religious story.
Joseph Smith had golden tablets. Dum 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 dum.
Right. So, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to my Mormon friends, but the fact about this is that every religion has things that happen that are miraculous and for some reason are told, don't go tell this. And the same thing here with these UFOs. So Dr. Pasulka is right when she's writing about this, and she says this whole UFO phenomena, abduction phenomena, and all this thing is basically a new religion, and it has that sort of level. In her investigations of it, I think she's come to think there probably is something to it, but it doesn't change her mind that this is a new religion for many people. I learned it was a new religion when I was in California, and I was doing some church work, and I encountered a woman, and she asked me a bunch of questions, and I said, well, what do you believe? And she says, well, it's hard because it's really not a religion. And I said, what is it? She says, well, I just believe in ancient aliens. And I said, oh, okay. I see. And then I remember driving home from that event thinking, wow, that's amazing. And then, of course, I come across Dr. Pasulka's book, American Cosmic.
It's ancient astronauts.
She told me she believed in ancient aliens. So I was like, listen, I'm not evangelizing it. I'm just telling you what she said.
Ancient astronaut theorists propose.
See,
right?
It's ancient astronauts. We're not saying they're aliens. They could be anything.
Ancient astronauts.
I'm not testifying about the truth of the matter asserted. I'm
really
just...
calling them ancient aliens is a little racist, frankly.
Right. Ancient undocumented beings.
I think we all agree.
Travelers.
I think we all can agree.
Something happened here.
Something happened.
Even something weird happened.
Something very weird happened, but it wasn't extraterrestrial.
No, I don't think so.
And let's go down. Let's say it's the British testing this facility, testing the security in this facility, and they're doing this to test the security in the facility. You test security for things that you know are likely or possible.
Right.
And if they
are
are
testing it for
this,
alien invasion,
if you're doing this to test this facility for something that's possible,
says something about their belief.
That just says something about what the government thinks or what those people think or believe or know.
I mean,
my goodness.
Though to be fair,
that ought to probably be more alarming than a UFO landed in the forest.
To be fair, though, the U.S. and the Brits both have contingency plans for aliens and zombies.
I'm going to write to President Trump, and I'm going to ask him if it's true.
That they have contingencies for it?
Yes.
They do. They have contingencies for mass alien landings and zombie plague. They have worked out. Rich has looked this up. Rich yeah. They have
there is
for zombie outbreak.
There is a contingency with the U.S. government for zombie chickens.
True story.
It's written. Like, they've figured it all out. They know what to do.
The thing that I hate is that I was not in a position or in the place where I got to be in the think tank for contingencies for sci-fi situations. I didn't get to be there and have that be my job. Whether I could put it on a resume or not, that would have been on my personal mental resume. I got to plan for sci-fi contingencies for the U.S. I'm really disappointed.
Yeah,
I think I would have loved that job.
Yeah, absolutely.
You'd be like, well, what about invading robots? Oh, not just invading robots.
Whoop. My phone fell. Sorry.
Mine just sent me a note.
So
I don't
before we wrap it up, I want to say, fan of the show, also a personal friend of mine and my wife's. Her name's Whitney. She sent me the paranormal shirt that I wear every now and again.
The cryptid shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
So today, she was driving through the Pine Barrens. In case you didn't know, that is the stomping ground for the Jersey Devil.
Uh-huh.
There you go. Driving through the Pine Barrens, she said,
right.
She said, and I quote, driving around the Pine Barrens so far, no luck finding the Jersey Devil.
Darn.
Unfortunately, we already debunked the Jersey Devil.
As a child, my cousins and I and our friends, we sent so many signals to outer space with flashlights,
Yep.
projectors, our film strip projectors, anything we could to signal aliens to come to our house. And they just never came.
I can remember
as to be watching because I lived close to Roswell. I mean, close in the scheme of things. It was probably only a 3-hour drive.
I remember as a kid, it was considered a luxury for me to go out in the backyard and pitch a tent and camp in the backyard. And all night long, I would listen to Coast AM.
Right.
And I had my little flashlight, and I would go outside and I would shine my flashlight up at the sky. And like, yeah, come on, UFO, come on. And then I would see a light, and then I'd be like, oh God. No, that was a horrible idea. And then I'd go back in the tent, throw the blankets over my head. And yeah, this was like 4 or 5 times a year I'd go and do it. It would terrify me, but I loved doing it. Always shining a flashlight because you could see that beam go way up.
Mm-hmm.
And then like a light would zoom by, and then you would be like, ugh. Okay, time for me to go in the tent, cover up. Do I have a knife with me? Something to protect myself? I would get so scared, but I would keep doing it. Hindsight 2020. So, anyway, I think we've debunked this.
I cannot believe that's where we've come.
I know.
I'm
yeah.
so disappointed.
I really wanted this to be the one that we're all like, oh my gosh, this is it. This has really happened, because I had so much evidence. But cooler heads prevail.
There is a lot of evidence to this. There really is. But when you just take it piece by piece, boy, none of it's great.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the important thing of having lots of evidence. It gives us a lot to comb through and a lot to chew on.
Yeah.
And in this case, it just turns out that's its death nail.
Yeah.
Having plenty to look at.
And sometimes people are like, no, but there's just so much evidence, right? Well, it's crappy evidence.
It's not great.
That's how, in the saying among lawyers, you can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Because you go in and you show a lot of evidence that
whole
something
lot.
happened, a whole lot of evidence. Then you have grouchy ladies of a certain age on there that are like my mother who say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And I'm going to vote to indict them.
Indict a ham sandwich.
Right?
I believe that.
So before we wrap up with closing statements from our house critic Aeon, I'm gonna say we have a unique opportunity that I'm gonna start taking into account. So when we're done streaming, we can either end the stream or we could raid somebody else, which means we take our viewers and send them over to somebody else's stream. And this can play into our favor because other people will be like, well, who's this streamer? And they'll go check out our stuff. So I have 4 people right now that I follow that are streaming. One of them is a big time YouTuber. And the other one is just an artist that does art.
Oh, yeah, you showed him to us the other week.
This is a different one. Yeah, he usually he streams in the morning. So the artist's name is Ceza. Ceza has 49 people watching right now. The big YouTuber has 31. And then we have another streamer. She's playing Fortnite. And then another person that's just chatting only has 2 people watching. We have a choice of those 4 people to raid, and I would like to start raiding people when we leave the stream.
You pick.
Yeah, just pick who you want. I'm good with it.
You know, like, okay, so the one playing Fortnite, she's cool. I've raided her a few times back when I was streaming. I don't know Ceza great, and the YouTuber probably won't even notice us raiding. So let's raid the one playing Fortnite.
Okay.
Yeah, she's cool. Yeah, she's cool. Talked to her a few times. She's playing Fortnite right now, but she will actually interact with us after we raid. So don't go away, everybody watching. We have 2 people watching right now. We're going to raid a friend of mine, Clockwork Jules. She's playing Fortnite right now. Pretty cool streamer. But before we do that, Aeon, do you have something you want to take us out with?
Sure. So, this might not be a particularly good example of this, but I wonder too if, as I started the show with about, many levels or layers of possible existences. If you take that theory with multiple dimensions, each dimension is going to be a variation on the theme. But my thought is reality itself could have variations on the theme, variations on what reality is. I wonder if in the cases of UFOs like the one that we covered in South Africa, right, where all the kids had pretty much the same story but experienced slightly different positioning with people, they were moving at a weird speed, and we've talked about, phasing from one place to another would be a better explanation than, say, conventional travel between things. What if you had a fractaling of how reality itself exists, and this was sort of the vine or the track that you traveled to move these great distances, right, from point A to point B. If we're going to assume they're even on the same reality plane, what if they're on a slightly separate one and sort of remote in, so to speak? These are the big questions that plague the great minds of investigative explorers such as ourselves. And should these same questions plague you, then you should follow us.
Beyond the Shadows. Good night, everybody.
A creature like that, how would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for
someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Feel the shadow.